Good afternoon. The new league year for the NFL is only a minute and a half old, and we already have developing news when it comes to your Tennessee Titans. Diana Rossini as well as Adam Schefter are reporting that the Tennessee Titans are planning on releasing wide receiver Julio Jones. That's just now breaking. We'll have more for you here in just a few minutes. When it comes to college basketball, you also have two play-in games happening tonight, both of which you can hear right here on 104.5 The Zone. At 5:40 is when it's going to tip off for the 16th seed matchup between Bryant and Wright State. We will join that game in progress immediately at 6 p.m. The winner is going to go on to face Arizona. And after that, the 11th seed matchup between Notre Dame and Rutgers will be taking place on True TV, or again, just listen to it right here. The winner will take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Monday Night Football has made it official. ESPN has announced that Joe Buck and Troy Aikman will be joining up for their 20th NFL season together as the brand new Monday Night Football crew. For all your foundation repair waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once, like the Julio Jones news on your home for the Vols, the flagship station for your Tennessee Titans, and home to 3HL. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Out of the gates on a brand new 3HL. Happy New Year, National Football League. The craziness begins here locally in Tennessee. Nationally, trade signings, they become official. And the Tennessee Titans are releasing Julio Jones. A report coming 1 minute ago from Diana Rossini, Adam Schefter of ESPN. A post-June 1st designation means the Titans save $9.5 million. But their big trade last year is a failure. Welcome in to 3HL. Joe Hunk, our producer, Don Davenport, Will Bowling with you. And Don, this is why you don't do mock drafts until free agency, because the changes that happen to your needs, the holes you have in your roster, and now a very big gap in the Titans roster.
Injury expensive. Those are the two words to describe Julio Jones and what you got out of him last year, right?
That's right. It is up there.
I think some people are surprised. It's.
I'm not surprised at all.
I'm a little surprised.
I think it makes sense.
It makes sense.
And I think,
but I'm not going to say I'm not surprised.
John Robinson and Mike Vrabel have sent a message in these past couple of days that the best ability is availability if you are a veteran on this roster. This salary cap and the financials of where NFL teams are has not completely rebounded from the pandemic, and you just can't pay a guy a whole bunch of money to not play on your football team.
Right.
They brought back Ben Jones, who has missed one game since 2014. They get rid of Julio Jones, who had the hamstring issue all of last season and never did a whole lot for this team. We never had the big Julio Jones moment.
Nope.
One touchdown
and we kept
catch.
Waiting.
We kept
and
on
And
waiting.
I thought that they were saving him for a postseason run, and then that didn't materialize either.
Yep.
But yeah, you talk about the message sent too. You signed Harold Landry to a long-term deal. That guy has been available and durable big time in his time here. You mentioned Ben Jones, first or one game missed since 2014, battles through injury. You look at the, letting Roger Saffold go strictly a business decision, but they do it with plenty of time so that he can go find somewhere else to play, because I think they probably respected what he went through last year in order to try and be available and to play, even with that nerve issue he had, So it's a priority. It's important. And Julio Jones was not available last year.
615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. We're going to talk with Coach Dave McGinnis coming up in 15 minutes about salary cap 101 and the financials of what the Titans can do. And now that's a very different conversation.
Yes. We'll ask him about the
We will.
upcoming release of Julio Jones. Hey, welcome to 3 o'clock.
That's right. Welcome to the new league year. We knew we would probably get something we did not expect to start off the show today. That was the case.
I thought it would be some blockbuster NFL quarterback.
I thought it'd be Baker Mayfield out of Cleveland.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because that's a disaster.
Oh, it's like most things in the city of Cleveland, football and non-football related, it's a disaster. But Cleveland taking a tough stray bullet here at the beginning of this 3HL. The important part of the Julio Jones discussion, obviously the Titans spent a second and a fourth round pick to bring him in last year. He's paid $15.3 million. A post-June 1st designation means that the Titans will get $9.5 million of savings on June 2nd.
Yep.
So this is not money that they can use tomorrow. So if you're going to call us and say, oh, go get Austin Hooper, he's available, not how it's going to work. Immediately, the Titans will have that money to use at their disposal. And I think this might be extension money for your guys that you want to lock up, named Jeffrey Simmons and A.J. Brown, but that's just me, that you save starting June the 2nd. So the Julio Jones financials, they will take on $2.8 million in dead cap this year. That dead cap hit will go up to $8.4 million in 2023.
Oof.
That is a big number to completely just shove away and say, okay, here's $8 million on nothing starting next year.
Right.
It's a huge, huge mistake by this team that gambled on the fact that Julio Jones, who didn't have a ton of injury history over the course of his career, would be even 75% of himself this year.
Had some injury
towards the
history, end. Yep. 434 yards and a touchdown is what he finished with. I mean, and he just wasn't available.
And that's
he
not
should
worth
have had 2 touchdowns, but that's
it's not worth $15 million. That's for sure.
No.
That's worth about $6 million. So right now, the Tennessee Titans wide receiver 2 is Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Right now.
Okay.
Stirring the pot.
There is clearly some work that is going to be done and some younger, draftable, talented receivers in this class as well.
615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. Julio Jones released by the Tennessee Titans, a June 1st designation per Diana Rossini and Adam Schefter to begin the new league year and to begin the show here today. We're going to take it a lot of different directions over the course of the next 3 hours. We've got Coach Mack coming up in about 10 minutes, like we said. We've got Todd Fuhrman talking NCAA tournament, his best bets for round 1 of all the mayhem starting tomorrow. We've got that coming up at 4:30. And we have got Mr. Money himself, Bert Bertelkamp, Vol Hoops analyst, coming up at 5:20.
Bert Bertelkamp, who was on the roster the last time the Vols won an SEC
That's right.
tournament championship, right?
That doesn't hurt me as much to say that anymore, knowing that Tennessee has won one.
It was him and Kevin Nash.
That's right.
Kevin Nash was on there as well.
Money. I'm just going to say that like intermittently throughout the show today.
By the way,
right on.
I've already had multiple people call and ask if they could get a 50% discount on what they paid for their Julio Jones jerseys. I purchased 2. So, yeah, I bought one for me.
You did. That's right.
I purchased one for me and one for my son. Yeah. So, just letting you know, that's where we are right now with their jerseys.
And the number 2 is not like... No one ever really wore number 2. I mean, Rob Baronis was the guy that made the number 2 most famous in Nashville, too. Like, they haven't really given that number to a lot of people.
Well, it's because, again, up until last year, you couldn't have single digits if you were a wide receiver. So that was what Julio did because we thought he was going to take number 8 when he first came.
Man.
But no.
So how does this change the priorities in the first round? Rhett Bryan tweeted this out at Rhett B Tennessee on Twitter as soon as the news broke and said, I'll take Traylon Burks for $500, please, Alex. I think it changes specifically what you have to have at receiver because the conversation we've had all week is got to have speed.
I still think you have to have a speed guy.
Right, but you now have a spot for a number 2 that's another A.J. Brown.
Correct. You are right there. But I still think your priority should be a speed guy because that's what has been missing year after year after year after year for this Titans team. You have to have somebody to take the top off to help out your quarterback too.
So what does this do when it comes to a player now like wide receiver like Jarvis Landry?
I think his history with Ryan Tannehill is probably going to be too much to bring him here. But you're going to have options now, and you're going to have longer-term options like a Jameson Williams and a John Mechie that you're probably going to talk a little bit more about than you would have before.
You mentioned the history with Jarvis Landry. It was a Bleacher Report article that they interviewed him after his time in Miami, and he basically just trashed Tannehill as a quarterback.
Right.
And because he was asked if Tannehill had reached out to him since he left Miami, made contact with him at all. And he was like, no, but we didn't really have a good relationship anyway. Well, of course they didn't have a good relationship because Tannehill had a crappy offensive line and couldn't get the ball to him. And, I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into that. I'm sure that all of those fences can be mended if they have to be in the spirit of win.
Here's the thing for
Win
me.
now. Now, I don't know if you want that personality.
Yeah.
And if it's you outweigh we talk about this a lot of the time, you outweigh or you weigh the risk reward when you bring in a big personality where there might be some history, but
I don't think Mike Vrabel wants the superstar guy in this locker room. That's the message that I think he has sent over the past few years. And it's not a one size fits all. Every superstar acts the same way. That's not what I'm saying. But look at the last 2 off seasons and the big swing that they took at a veteran guy that was available. Jadeveon Clowney 2 years ago and Julio Jones last year. 2 guys
which is very out of character for John Robinson anyway.
Extremely so.
And neither one of them worked. I will say this. I think at the end of the day, Mike Vrabel doesn't give a shiano. He just wants to win. If that means that it's a superstar, come on in. Because I think he feels like this locker room and the chemistry in this locker room and the culture that he has now created, him and J-Rob have created, can handle and sustain any personality, any big personality, any superstar. And I think he's right. I think the culture is so strong now with this Titans franchise, and it's so cemented, and you have so many key players that have bought into it that you can absorb anything, any kind of personality in this locker room. Do you want to?
Here's the comparison I'll make with the Titans going into the draft this year. In 2020, the Oakland Raiders, now Las Vegas Raiders, drafted 3 wide receivers in one draft. All of them out of the SEC. Henry Ruggs out of Alabama, Brian Edwards out of South Carolina, and Lynn Bowden out of Kentucky. They quickly moved Lynn Bowden, but the Tennessee Titans might legitimately be in the market to draft at least 2 receivers, if not 3, and go get a first-rounder, a later round guy on day 2 that can be a special teamer like Velus Jones, someone in that mold, and then a developmental piece later on. This is also why you don't use a 6th round pick on Racey McMath to come be a core teamer at the wide receiver position. Because now that's another pick at wide receiver that you've wasted that cannot help you on the field on offense. So, going to be interesting. Lots to discuss with Coach Dave McGinnis. That is coming up next.
I disagree with some of that, but we'll get into it after.
We got plenty of time. We got 3 hours today to talk about the beginning of the league year. Baker Mayfield is unsettled in Cleveland. We got Todd Fuhrman, Bert Bertelkamp. Strap in. Going to be a fun show. Coach Mac coming up next, 104.5 The Zone.
I'll take a shot on college hoops this March, a risk-free bet on FanDuel Sportsbook. And this is for all of you existing FanDuel Sportsbook customers out there and all you new customers as well. Doesn't matter if you already have an account. All customers get a risk-free bet on the bracket. All you have to do is sign into the FanDuel Sportsbook app to claim yours today. I just signed into mine to check it out today, and there it is. It's right there at the top. Click on it. Bet now, and you're in. If you are new to FanDuel, sign up with promo code DAWN to get in on the action, and then you can bet on maybe the underdog you've had your eye on. We're going to have some analytics for you coming up later in the show on some of these teams and the favorites and the history and who has done well in the tournament, and, when you run it through, who is going to be the favorite. We'll have all that coming up. So there you go. We'll help you with your FanDuel Sportsbook bet. Either way, it's risk-free. And with cash out, the ball's in your court. You can close out your bet whenever you want before the game is over. No better place to bet the tournament than on FanDuel Sportsbook. And now's the time to do it. If you haven't joined, make sure you do it with promo code DAWN, D-A-W-N. If you already have an account, sign into FanDuel Sportsbook app and claim your risk-free bet today. You have to be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit. Expires in 7 days. Max refund $5. Offers non-transferable. Restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
3HL on 104.5 The Zone, a new league year. And a big move for the Tennessee Titans. Julio Jones expected to be released, a June 1st designation. First reported by ESPN's Diana Rossini and Adam Schefter. Alongside Don Davenport, I'm Will Bowling. The week off for Brent Doherty and Ron Slay. And we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, where it is a very good time to talk to this man. It's always a good time to hear from Coach Mack. Coach Dave McGinnis joining us, courtesy of Farm Bureau Health Plans. Coach, good timing. How are you?
Hi, Will. Enjoyed spending the week with you up there in Indianapolis. Did you survive it?
I did survive it, and most importantly, I did not only survive, but I loved the shrimp cocktail that I have now brought up 2 days in a row on this show.
See, perfect. I mean, I knew I saw you every day because that our tables were adjacent to one another there. And then once the workout started, but I told you, just go on over there to St. Elmo's, walk in, sit at the bar. You can have all of the shrimp cocktail you want.
It's perfect. And look, I mean, Coach Dave McGinnis can thrive and be the man of the hour in any room, but specifically in that room at the NFL Combine, Don, like Coach Mack is like the man that everybody wants to talk to.
Oh, yeah. He's just doing Coach Mack stuff.
That's right. Broadcast guru.
Hi, Dawn.
Hi, Coach. So, obviously, before everything kind of went down at 3 o'clock, I said, I had texted with you earlier. I was like, hey, let's get into kind of a salary cap 101 conversation just to educate fans. And so we're all knowing how things work. Well, this kind of plays perfectly into it. But first, before we dive deep into it, let's talk about the Titans and the fact that they are going to say goodbye to Julio Jones. First off, were you surprised by it?
No, not at all. I mean, he just, his health just didn't hold up. And I mean, you've got to take a swing with those things. It's just like with Clowney. You needed a rush. You got to take a swing. You needed another receiver. You take a swing at these things in the league, and some of them work and some of them don't. And no team, no general manager, nobody. I mean, I've done it for 31 years, believe me. I'm not, if you bat 333 in the Major League Baseball, you're doing good. You need to do better than that in the National Football League, but you're not going to bat 100. I promise you. So, it was worth it. They didn't get the production because he wasn't healthy, and so that's just what you do. Now, you had asked me, because you're really quick with the text, because you're a technology guru.
Yeah.
And you wanted to know, and I will explain it. I'll explain this and the salary cap, with restructuring, as clearly as I can, because I'm very familiar with all this. I've done it all. But look, just generally, if a player here's how it works. If a player is cut or traded before June 1st, all right, all the remaining prorated salary bonus money left on his contract accelerates into the current year. That makes sense to you? So that's before June 1st. That's why they have a June 1st designation. So the June 1st designation means after June 1st, just the current year's signing bonus money, which has been prorated, counts, and the rest accelerates to the following season. That's why you see some of these bigger contracts that have, bonus money on the end of it. But keep this in mind. Base salary in the National Football League is not guaranteed money. Signing bonus money is guaranteed money. But signing bonus money you can prorate over the length of a contract. And you can also add voided years to the end of the contract to prorate it further. But the money still all comes due at some point. It's just you push it down the road. So the June 1st designation, for all of our listeners, if you release them before June 1st without the designation, then everything that you owe them goes into your cap this year. So basically,
which the Titans are tight on.
Yeah, well, and a lot of teams are, and most teams will use the June 1st designation to be able to take, just the salary cap hit for this year into it, and then be able to take the rest of the bump into the next league year. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Now, before we go back into the no Julio Jones and how that changes draft and free agency and all that, let's stay on the salary cap talk, because, well, for one, we're seeing it, I feel like a lot of one-year deals. Is that because of COVID, where the salary cap is? It seems like there's more one-year deals now than there have been in the past.
Two reasons. First of all, the salary cap still has not recovered from the pandemic year as far as to how it would have accelerated. Okay, are you with me?
Yep.
And so the television contracts and the money is going to catch up, but it's not going to. It had 208 point whatever it is this year. It has not caught up incrementally as to what it would have been pre-pandemic. And so the catch-up is going to come as far as the money, once the new television contract and everything else that's thrown into it is going to increase in the coming years. And so most of the players that are going to sign contracts, especially veteran players, they're going to sign one-year contracts and then make a bet on themselves and then see if they can cash in when there is more money in the pot. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense.
Okay.
And then we're talking about, Julio, and then after June 1st and kind of moving the monies down the road. A lot of fans have brought up restructuring of current contracts as far as helping to free up some money to go get a player that you need. I know Kevin Byard did it last year. So just kind of hit on the restructuring of contracts, who are good candidates for contracts to be restructured, and how does that affect you as a franchise later down the road too?
Okay, great question, and Coach Mack just so happens to have the answer. Okay?
Always.
Shocked.
No, essentially, restructuring a deal involves you convert a portion of a player's salary into the form of a signing bonus, okay? So the cap hit from that bonus, you can amortize it over the length of the contract, which in turn lowers the present year cap numbers. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the base reason why you do it. Now, let's look at the long-term effects of what happens. Because, anytime a team, if you're short on cap flexibility and you need some space, you can get a short-term fix by restructuring a player's long-term contract. So first of all, you got to have a player with a long-term contract that has years of service that you believe you're going to be able to get. All right, keep that in mind. All right. Okay, now you can cut or you can trade a player, and that can be a solution as well for a contract. But a contract restructure, what that allows you to do, Dawn and Will and all of our fine listeners, it allows the team to keep the roster intact while also providing a little bit of immediate cap relief. Now, immediate cap relief, because it's like this. Dawn, you have credit cards, right?
Yes.
Will, you got credit cards, right?
I do, yes.
Okay, you can spend to the limit of that credit card, whatever it is. For both of you guys, the money you make, it's probably $2 or $3 million limit.
Oh yeah.
All right, now, you can spend to that, but it's going to come due sooner or later. You also are able, if you want to make payment plans on it, you can stretch it out, but there's interest involved. But at the end of it, no matter how much limit that you have, you're going to have to pay it sooner or later. Okay. And sometimes it can be painful later on rather than just staying within your budget and keeping it controlled year to year to year. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So the base salaries, guys, of NFL contracts, they're not guaranteed. But the players can receive guaranteed money in the form of signing bonus. And then while those bonuses are considered their upfront money for cap purposes, they can be spread out over the years of the contract. So if I give one of you guys a $12 million signing bonus, say on a 4-year deal, all right, you're going to get your $12 million up front, but for cap purposes, you're only going to count $3 million a year for 4 years. That make sense to you?
Yes.
So anytime you hear cash over cap, and then you hear a signing bonus that has been pushed out, you can do that. Now, if you're going to restructure, what you do is you take some of that future salary and you put it in the form of a signing bonus. So they get all the restructured money up front, okay, but you put it in the form of a signing bonus, and then you can spread that out, all right, over the length of the contract. But what happens is, and what if you continue to borrow against yourself, which is basically what you're doing, sooner or later, if that player is injured, all of that money is guaranteed. It immediately comes into the cap. Or if that player declines and can't perform to that, you still owe him the money. And as soon as he's gone, it accelerates into your present year cap. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So
Makes sense.
You wouldn't look at like restructuring a guy like maybe Lawan because he's on the back end of his career, kind of thing.
Correct.
Got it.
Correct. I mean, because you've already restructured Lawan once, right?
Right. And you did Byard last year.
Yeah, and Byard last year, which is the right thing to do. But what you don't want to get into doing is borrowing from a lot of big salaries to restructure, and then all of a sudden you not only don't have the service of the player, either by injury or either by decline in performance, then you also have their money hit in total in the year that they leave your club. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
So you've got to be very judicious as far as to who you restructure and how many you restructure, because your contracts have to interlock with one another, because you've got first-year players coming in that are on scale contracts, but then you've also got players that have performed, that you drafted that you would like to extend. So it's all it's a Jenga game with it. It really is, that you've got to be able to move it around. And that's the way you're able to manipulate it. And people get hung up sometimes on, there's 90% of the cap, there's a floor now that you have to spend, but that's over a 4-year period in salaries. And so, everybody, is up to that. But that's what the restructure business is about. All right. And so look, the Titans and our long-term Titans fans, they've experienced that here when the Titans kept that 2000 Super Bowl, that 2000 Super Bowl team together, right? 99 team, restructured, pushed it out. 2000 made another run, pushed it out, able to push it out. All of a sudden it comes due, and then you've got to lose Javon. You've got to lose Samari. You start losing those guys, and then a guy like a Keith Bullock that has just signed his second contract is surrounded by a lot of good players, and all of a sudden he looks around and he's going, where is everybody?
Mm-hmm. The purge.
Because you can't pay him. You've got the purge. And then you build it back up, and then you make another run in 2008, 13-3. You build it back up, and then look, but the way to be able to have a consistent football team, and you can have money, a lot of money under the cap if you're a bad team, because you don't have good players. Or you can spend a lot of money on players, all right, that you haven't developed, and some of them turn out, and then some of them don't. But what happens is the best way to stay consistent is manage your cap. Where are the Titans on now? I mean, I've been back here. I'm starting my, 6th year of broadcasting here. I've never broadcast a losing season.
Yeah.
Because they're very consistent with what they do. Now, are you disappointed when you don't win it all? Hell yes, you are. But at least you're giving yourself a chance. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It does.
100%.
Coach Dave McGinnis with
Salary
us here
cap
on 3HL. This
there
is
you
great.
go.
Great stuff. Jaron on YouTube saying, I feel like a salary cap specialist now.
Yes.
Just listening to Coach Mack. But
no, that was great though, because a lot of people are like, well, go structure Lawan. And so that explains why you make the decisions to do what you do. So.
And the question I want to ask Coach Mack is that we live so much year to year based on, all right, there's $9.5 million available June 2nd, but that's not all going to go towards this year. Obviously, you have draft picks you have to have room for in the salary cap, but you've also got two superstars that are about to get paid in Jeffrey Simmons and A.J. Brown. How does this move maybe accelerate or change the timeline of when the Titans can have those conversations with either A.J. Brown or Jeffrey Simmons?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you always would like to have, with your players, at least one, maybe two in-season extensions. You'd like to be able to do that, but you have to have money to do that. And the other thing, Will, that you're pointing out, people think, well, you got $9.5 million left, you can spend it up to zero.
Yeah.
You still need to operate during a season, because you've got to be able to pay. You've got to be able to pay not only your top 51, you've got to be able to pay all of your practice squad, right? that's up to 16 now, and then any maneuvers that you have to make during the season. I mean, the Titans only had to make 91 movers last year, right? 91.
Right.
Oh,
So
right.
Crazy.
all of that money, any type of transaction that you make during the year counts against your salary cap. And so basically, I've cleaned 2 caps. I've been involved in the salary cap ever since, when I was a head coach for sure, and then the 15 years I was an assistant head coach. The thing that you have to be able to do is keep operating money too, and most of the norm now, depending on what the cap is, it used to be $5 to $7 million, and plus your rookie pool's got to come out of that too. So it's not that, we've got $9.2 million, let's go spend it all, so when the season starts we're at zero. Doesn't work like that.
Right. Coach, one last thing for you here on just the wide receiver position and moving forward. Don and I have had the conversation all week here on the show that the Titans need to complement what they currently have with more speed and something a little bit different. Now you seemingly have 2 openings at the wide receiver position, in the slot and on the outside where Julio Jones would have been. How does this maybe affect or alter the evaluation process John Robinson is going into this draft by saying, well, we don't just need a slot now. You need versatility of a guy that can do both. How important is that versatility, you feel like, to be a slot or to be a wide receiver too in this draft specifically?
Well, first of all, Will, it probably hasn't altered their thinking at all because they've been planning on it.
Right,
okay?
right.
I mean, this wasn't just, okay, let's wake up this morning and, okay, let's do this with Julio. Right?
Yeah.
Now,
This decision was probably made in the last week of the season.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't know when it was made. I'm not in that building. I used to be a decision maker. I'm not now. I'm just a halfway try to explain her stuff. All right, so anyway, what you need is good players. I don't necessarily, speed is speed, but speed that doesn't translate to the field in production is nothing. I mean, who's the speed receiver on the Rams?
Yeah, I mean, you've got a couple of them.
Who is it?
Speed receiver on the Rams, Van Jefferson, Odell Beckham.
Who? I'm talking about. You're talking about take off the top 4-3. Who's the best receiver on the Rams?
Oh, Cooper Kupp is the best receiver on the Rams.
Yeah, he ran about a 4.67.
Yeah, right.
I was going to say he's not a take the top off.
Right.
No, one of the best receivers I ever had is Anquan Bolden. I don't even care what A.J. Brown runs. He runs fast enough with the ball in his hands. So what I'm saying is, I'm not speed. Look, this was the fastest combine I've ever attended, and I've attended every one of them. You have 31 guys run under 4.4, combining the wide receivers and the DBs. So there is foot speed out there, but foot speed, football speed, different world. Rhett Bryan and I are now 2 weeks deep into our cross-checks. We have now cross-checked about 167 players. I'm looking right here at my wide receiver in my 2022 notebook. I've got 20 of them. There's receivers in this draft. So will they be able to draft some receivers that can help them? Absolutely, yes. Will there be a veteran receiver that might be available towards the end of what's going on here at a reasonable price that can be functional and help you? Yes. But do you have to just draft somebody that can, you can, that can come out and just blow the top off of it? Al Davis did it for years, right? Just take the fastest guy in the draft and see if he can catch.
I like it. Rhett Bryan already said on Twitter, I'll take Traylon Burks for 500, please, Alex, right as soon as this news broke.
He ain't a speed guy.
No, he's not, but he's a catch guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
With,
I think, a really high ceiling. He's still, there's still raw in his game, right?
Oh, no, they're 100% right, Don. And as I said, I've got 20 receivers right here that we've cross-checked, which is more than we'll be able to get to in the 2 days of Titans Radio Draft that we're going to do live and off-site and at the state anyway. So, yes, they will be able to help themselves. And you're always planning when you're putting a roster together for the now and then for the future, because you've got to win now so that everybody has a future, right? But you still have to be able to plan it in 2 different ways. So you ask me, will they get receivers? My answer to that is yes. Who will they get? I don't know yet.
Time will tell. Coach Dave
Shelley,
McGinnis.
by the way, Shelley tweeted, I'm learning so much today. Cool. So thanks, Coach Mac, for our Salary Cap 101.
Guys, it's always a pleasure talking to you guys and to our fans. I love it.
Coach Mac, thank you so much. We are looking
See you
forward to
guys.
all the Titans radio
See you,
coverage coming up for the draft. Coach Dave McGinnis on the Marks Payne Real Estate Hotline. Need great healthcare coverage at an affordable price? Let Farm Bureau Health Plans coach you through it. They've been protecting Tennesseans since 1947. All right, so there is your Salary Cap 101 with Coach Dave McGinnis. Coming up next, we give you your chance to react. 615-737-1045. Titans fans have a lot of mixed emotions about Julio Jones being gone. We want to hear from you, and we've got some time to do that with you pretty much for the next 45 minutes. 615-737-1045. Julio is out. Your chance to react next on 3HL.
The home loan expert just had an amazing contest out there against the corporate lenders, 93-19. Now, Coach, what are your thoughts?
Today we put it all on the court. Great work, great loan options. All that hard work paid off for us.
Darius, amazing performance. You were getting rates that nobody else could touch. How'd you do it?
Honestly, we're really coming together as a team, and our process is always streamlined. That's why we take 21 days to close.
Coach, any final thoughts?
Go with the lender who's outplaying the rest. Get started today
How
at
long has it been since you
thehomeloanexpert.com.
have had your air ducts cleaned or your carpets cleaned? Has it been a while? Zero Res. That's who you need to call. Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning. Check out the Zero Res difference. They provide insanely clean carpets with powered water. There's no soap. There's no residue. There's no harsh chemicals. Also, early to mid-March here or late March, it's a weird time of transition. You've got cold and flu season, losing its grip, spring starting to bloom. So now's a great time to completely rid your home of cold and flu season germs as we all look forward to spring. Make sure all the allergens are gone too. And guess what? My friends at Zero Res have an awesome March promotion going on for you right now. Tell them Dawn sent you, and they'll give you 3 rooms of carpet cleaned plus a free hallway, $109 and 15% off of air duct cleaning. Some restrictions may apply. Call them now, 615-535-9376. Book online at zeroresnashville.com. We all know that getting what you want these days is not necessarily easy, supply chain issues, but luckily getting the exact car you want is still an option. And that's because Two Rivers Ford can custom order any new Ford for you. You got it. You can get any new Ford, any color you want, any available features. Two Rivers Ford will order it for you. And are you busy? Guess what? They'll have it delivered to your door once it's manufactured. They also have some new vehicles arriving every single day. So hop on tworiversford.com. See if there's anything you like there. They have one of the largest selections in the state. And if you call them, their salespeople don't work on commission, so they're never going to pressure you, and they will be there to help make things as easy as possible for you. Two Rivers Ford's been around in our community since 1983. A lot of my friends have purchased vehicles from them. They're amazing. For all things Ford, reach out to the most trusted Ford dealer around, my friends at Two Rivers Ford. That's Two Rivers Ford, powered by Ford, driven by people.
615-737-1045 is the number. 3HL on 1045 The Zone. Julio Jones is out. Ladies and gentlemen, it is your chance to react alongside Don Davenport. I'm Will Bowling. 615-737-1045 the number.
Hunk, come on, turn me on, Hunk.
I know, I'm sorry.
What are you doing? That's 2 in a row.
I know, I'm so sorry.
By the way, most talent, we use that word lightly around here, but most talent turns on their own mic. I just don't because it's too far away from me. I can't reach
That's
it.
how I get the evil eye, and I just look down like a hurt puppy.
Yeah. Hey, you can go hang out with Buck Rising and Lucas Panzica and the Buck Rising Show tomorrow at Party Foul in Donaldson. They are broadcasting live. The men's basketball tournament tips off Thursday, of course. So head over to Party Foul in Donaldson. $4 domestics, $6 Jack, and Little Harpeth Brewery specials, wall-to-wall TVs, HD TVs, and much more. If you want more info, 1045thezone.com/events, and you can go check it out. But they will be live there, the Buck Rising Show, and I think Ron Slay's going to be live there as well.
Yes, back in the building, back in the state.
Yes.
Coming up this
in
weekend.
the building.
That's right. 615-737-1045 the number. Let's go to the phone lines where Scott gets the first word talking about Julio Jones and free agency. What's going on, Scott?
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good.
I've not got anything on the Julio Jones front. I was just curious, with the NFL free agency starting, I guess today, but the legal tampering period started Monday. How does a team go about and a player go about agreeing on a contract without the player being in the facility to do their physical and things like that? Is the contract pending the physical, or how does that work? And I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Scotty.
Most of them are.
Yes.
Most of the contracts are done and all of that, but it's pending passing physicals, because you've heard over the years here and there where somebody didn't pass a physical and then that voided the contract. So,
and that was actually reported last night as well, or today by Adam Schefter, because the Denver Broncos had a post of tune in for a special press conference at 2:03 Mountain Time to announce number 3, Russell Wilson. And Adam Schefter's point of that was, it looks like everyone has passed their physicals. Right. The Broncos can now officially announce. So you can go through and do all the red tape. That way, once 3 o'clock hits on the dot, you can go ahead and press send and make those things official.
You're ready.
Yes. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Jonathan in the Borough up next. What's going on, Jonathan?
Oh, not much. First of all, let's say tighten up. Second of all, thank you for releasing Julio Jones. I'm a fan of that. I like him as a player, but he didn't produce here. As far as somebody that did produce, Deontay Foreman, I just want to know, like, why? Why Foreman? I mean, other players I can understand. I can definitely understand Julio being released, but, like, we had a solid backup in him, and I just was trying to get some information on that.
Thank you, Jonathan.
1-year deal worth $2 million for Deontay Foreman with the Panthers, by the way, if you guys missed that. You can go ahead and give yours and I'll give mine.
I think it's because Deontay Foreman was a straight-up backup for Derrick Henry in a contingency plan when he got hurt, of a guy that knew the system, knew the team from spending time on the practice squad. And as you move forward, you're not going to need a second Derrick Henry as long as he is healthy. What you are more in the market for is a replacement for Darrington Evans, or bringing back Dontrell Hilliard, of someone that can be a pass blocker on third down and be a receiving threat. Deontay Foreman was not the receiving threat that you're going to need in whoever you bring in, which I think they probably spend a day 3 draft pick on somebody, and they probably also bring in a cheap veteran as well, which you're going to be able to do up till August.
Foreman is, we just talked to Coach Mack about all the 1-year deals going on.
Yeah.
Foreman basically said, okay, I've signed a 1-year deal with Carolina for $2 million, betting on himself that now once the salary cap goes up next year, he can probably go somewhere and get some more money. Here's the other thing. He knew coming in, he probably wanted an opportunity. Like, the Panthers have Christian McCaffrey. That guy is never healthy. That they're trying to deal him. So I'm sure that Fuhrman wants an opportunity to get on the field and not be Derrick Henry's backup on top of it.
Would the Panthers try to deal McCaffrey to get Deshaun Watson? I mean, I think
the Panthers are trying to deal McCaffrey, period.
I mean, I think that's one of their valuable
I don't think
assets.
they care. I think that
Right.
but how, I know he's valuable.
Yeah.
But the guy's never finished a season.
Right.
Ever.
I mean, he had
So-
1,000 rushing and receiving yards in the same year a couple of years ago.
Right.
And that was the
because
peak
that
for
was
him.
the whole conversation about
Right.
McCaffrey versus Derrick Henry.
Right, which
back then.
ridiculous.
Was
615-737-1045. You just bring up different running backs, and Derrick Henry just outlives all of them.
Yes.
Coming
least
up
by
next,
our takes.
Yeah, that's right. Daniel will lead us off on the phones when we come back. 1 hour down and plenty to discuss as the Titans are reportedly releasing Julio Jones, according to a report first done by Diana Rossini and Adam Schefter. More of your phone calls, much more reaction coming up over the next couple hours. 3HL 1045 The Zone.
Let's talk season tickets for this awesome hockey team we have here in Smashville. Season tickets for the Preds 2022-23 season. They're on sale now. And when I talk about season tickets, you have options here. You can, of course, go full season and have a ton of fun, or you can go half and quarter season plans. Those are available as well. Join the Loyal Legion and receive the best seat locations. You get priority access to 2022 Stanley Cup playoff tickets. Your tickets for round 1 of the 2022 Stanley Cup playoffs will be up to 20% lower price-wise than your regular season price. And then tickets for round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, they'll be the same as your regular season price. Trust me, you will not be able to get those prices in any other way. Season ticket citizens receive up to 6 bonus tickets to share with friends and family. That's during the 2022-2023 regular season. And there's also a ton of benefits throughout the year. You get concession discounts, Nashville locker room discounts. You get pre-sales to shows at Bridgestone Arena. And we all know there are some phenomenal shows that also come to Bridgestone Arena. And you can learn more. NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. That's NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
It is a new year in the NFL, and the Titans have already started it off by making headlines just about a little over an hour ago. The Tennessee Titans, or I should say Adam Schefter as well as Diana Rossini, are reporting that the Titans will be releasing Julio Jones. Now, this is going to be expected to be a post-June 1 designation, which means that the Titans are going to save $9.5 million in cap space. We have play-in basketball happening again tonight as the 16 seed matchup is between Bryant and Wright State. Tip-off is going to be at 5:40. It's going to be on True TV, but look, we all know nobody knows where that's at. So you can listen to it right here on 104.5 The Zone starting at 6 o'clock. The winner of that game is going to go on to play Arizona. Immediately following that is the 11 seed matchup between Notre Dame and Rutgers. The winner of that will take on the Alabama Crimson Tide. And Monday Night Football now has two new voices. As ESPN made it official, Joe Buck and Troy Aikman will be your new Monday Night Football crew. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. And for all your breaking news, especially on Julio Jones, you need to pay attention to 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2, 3HL on 104.5 The Zone. Will Bowling and Don Davenport hanging out with you on this Wednesday. NCAA tournament starting tomorrow, but NFL dominating the conversation this afternoon as the Tennessee Titans part ways with Julio Jones. Don, one more show for us today.
Yes.
Been a fun week.
It has been. And of course, we just, it's funny. We were talking to Rhett B, Tennessee, Titans radio executive producer prior to the show. And we were kind of going through everything and just chatting about our show and our rundown and what we were going to hit on. And he's like, I mean, something big's probably going to happen at 3, And he didn't necessarily mean with the Titans.
Right.
What we talked a lot about was the disaster that is Baker Mayfield and the Browns and that they're breaking up and what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. But then sure enough, right there at 3, the news breaks that Julio Jones will be released, a June 1st designation, which you heard Coach Mack talk about why it's a June 1st designation. Then some of the monies can go to next year. So, yeah. You want to talk about fun? Now it's real fun.
It is.
I'm interested in where Titans fans are on this. Because honestly, you said you're not surprised. Coach Mack wasn't all that surprised. I'm not shocked, but I was a little surprised. I thought, now this being said, we don't know what went on behind the scenes with his hamstring injury and how available he was. But I was a little bit surprised because honestly, I felt like they kind of slow played him all season long. We know what you can do. You just sit over here and stay healthy, work on this little tweak you have. You're good. You just get ready for a postseason run, right? That was kind of the feel. Like he was never seriously injured until then at the end of the season. They're like, okay, it's time for a run. You ready to go? Like we need to develop some chemistry, get you guys going, all of that. You ready to go? And then he does get seriously injured and the hamstring's an issue and, boom. Hamstring, high ankle sprain, whatever the heck Julio Jones always has, and then it was like, well, dang. So I thought that maybe it was something minor enough. It just was timing and how it was handled or something that they'd give another year and you'd have another chance. But old and expensive and not available, that'll do it.
That's right. 615-737-1045 is the number. Titans also have signed Trenton Cannon, running back from San Francisco, who will be a special teamer for them. 16 kick returns last year for San Francisco. Played for Carolina in 2020, a guy that defensively plays on special teams and will be a kick return option for the Titans. Certainly not the big splash that many of you want. Now that you've created space, doesn't really work that way. Post Julio Jones. That money will be available to the Titans June 2nd. The way we understand it. So a June 1st designation saves the Titans money as they will push the prorated salary ahead a year Instead of putting it this year, they will save that $9.5 million towards this year's cap. 615-737-1045. A lot of you have strong feelings about this and thoughts about Julio Jones. We begin with Sam in the borough talking about Julio Jones. What's going on, Sam?
Nothing much. How's it going, man?
We're good.
Good. I'm not super surprised that they plan on releasing him. He produced a little bit while he was here, but for the biggest chunk of his time, he was injured. And at this point in his career, he may not be that workhorse, starter, go-to guy, more of a situational, big play, need somebody to do something veteran guy is more the role that I think he might be in at this point, and saving that $9.5 million definitely makes sense for them to do that. So that's my sense, and I'll hang up, let y'all talk.
I agree. Thank you for the call, Sam.
Yeah.
We
Good
talked
point,
about
Sam.
this yesterday, the predictability of based on who was on the field, what the Titans were doing last year.
Offensively, yep.
Every time you saw Nick Westbrook-Akina come on, not in the slot, okay, run play or play action. Every time you saw Julio Jones come on, okay, drop back pass. Here you go.
Yep.
Not going to run it with Julio on the field. Don't want to waste the hamstring. Like, it was that obvious. Same with the tight ends. Like, you didn't have versatile tight ends where Jeff Swaim's on the field. Okay, play action or, and I mean, usually. Obviously, the Titans aren't that predictable, but for the most part, Jeff Swaim meant run and play action, and Anthony Ferguson meant pass.
Yep.
Nick Westbrook-Akina meant run or play action, and Julio Jones meant pass.
Correct.
They need versatility, and they need guys that can do the dirty work to help out what your offense is built around. And what does Greg Cosell always say? This team is building around Derrick Henry as far as their identity of their offense. He said it yesterday with us. And this certainly goes along with that.
A.J. Brown tweeted, because Sam in his call kind of mentioned the veteran guy coming in, mentoring, teaching some of the young guys. I think back to when Randy Moss was here for a little bit. It wasn't productive here, although he did go on to be productive elsewhere for another year. But go figure.
Yeah.
The veteran guy coming in hasn't exactly worked for the Titans over the history of
Andre
this
Johnson,
franchise.
Titans legend.
That was another one. Yeah. Titans legend. But anyway, A.J. Brown tweeting this because that's one thing I did think about. This cost the Titans a second and a fourth. Like, this was a big bust. It was a big bust. There's no looking around it. Now you have a huge hole that you have to fill at wide receiver, and that's on top of the other holes that you have to fill on your offensive line and at tight end, right? So this is a huge bust. There's no way around it.
615-737-1045.
But I look at A.J. Brown because I thought about that. What did A.J. Brown gain from being around, such a legendary wide receiver? What did he learn? So A.J. Brown tweeted this 20 minutes ago. You've taught me a lot in a short period of time. I'm grateful to be a part of your journey. You're the reason why I started to begin to play this game. A Hall of Fame receiver is what you are and what I strive to be one day. Thank you. I'll take it from here. Salute. That's pretty cool.
A.J. Brown's the best Twitter follow on the Tennessee Titans.
Yes, he's
for
good.
Humorous reasons and then for stuff like that.
Yes.
615-737-1045, the number. We go back to the phones and hear from Daniel in Jackson. What's going on, Daniel?
Hey, what's going on now? I just wanted to comment on the Julio Jones. Not surprised at all. Kind of disappointed with the draft picks we lost, but no disrespect to the guy. He's obviously a great guy, good attitude, going to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Yep. Just wasn't available. So it seems like Titans fans are okay with it.
I think I assumed that would probably be the case.
It's what I'm getting is disappointed because it was a huge bust and because you gave up a second and a fourth and because last year was the year to go win a Super Bowl and you had some bad luck with the Derrick Henry injury, and we all know that he was not what he can be and what he is when he came back for the playoffs. He was not back to his old self. I mean, anybody could have seen that, right? So,
right.
I mean, it seems like it's just kind of disappointment and it was the right move and moving on.
Is it bad to say you're not losing a major cog from last year's offense?
Oh, you're not at all.
You're not,
I
but
mean,
it
he had
affects you because of
450
what
yards.
you
Yeah.
gave up.
Well, that's what it was. Like, if he was a major cog, if it would have been where he played in 14, 17 games, he had 1,000 yards receiving, he did everything that you was expecting him to, the reaction would be different today. But I think it's because you saw him so little on the field that you were just like, all right, well, I'm so used to already not seeing him in a Titans uniform that it's not that big of a deal for it. It just sucks that we lost the picks that we lost.
Right.
He'd still be here today if he'd even just been good for the games he was available for.
Actually, he probably would still be here if he was just freaking available.
Yeah, one or the other. You can't be bad and unavailable.
Because you can't argue with the fact that defenses were forced to do something differently when Julio was on the field with AJ, regardless of what Julio was going to do. So if he was just available, then he probably would still
Him
be
stepping
there.
on the field got two defenders to pay attention to him.
And be ready for him to be successful somewhere else next year.
Oh, come on,
I'm serious. I'm serious because some offense is going to care more about him as an asset to build things around him, and that's just not the case here. You build around A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry first, and then he was a complementary piece to make those guys better, and he didn't do that. Someone else is going to make him a focal point in their offense, and he's going to have 800 yards next year, and Titans fans are going to complain about it, and I don't want to hear it. Guy didn't fit here, move on. 615-737-1045. More of your phone calls coming up next, plus Todd Fuhrman, scheduled to join us at 4:30. We'll make you some money in the first round of your bracket coming up tomorrow. Make you the bracket winner in your pool. That's a good thing. I'm going to be the winner in our pool, so you might as well be the winner of yours.
Hey, we have $1 million pool going on,
We
by
do.
the way.
I wouldn't mind. How does that work against the zone's salary cap when I win the $1 million? Is that deferred? Is that a prorated contract?
We will
over a
immediately
17-game
release
season?
you.
Oh, wow.
That
right.
puts him way over the cap.
Don Davenport fires me. Coming up next, 3HL 104.5 The Zone.
Start your bracket with a bang. Maybe you have not jumped into this world yet. Well, I tell you what, March is a perfect time to do it. And right now, FanDuel Sportsbook is giving new customers a $150 instant bonus guaranteed. So you'll get $150 in bonus site credit, and all you have to do is place your first bet of $5 or more. How you bet the bracket, of course, is up to you. You can choose from the money line. You can choose totals, prop bets, player props, so much more. Whatever you want to do, that's up to you. Who would I take a chance on to turn my site credit into cash? Well, we all know War Eagle. That's where I'm going. Plus, with Cash Out, the ball is in your court. You can close out your bet whenever you want before the game is over. Join FanDuel today with promo code DAWN, D-A-W-N, and then you can place your $5 bet to score $150 in bonus site credit guaranteed. That's promo code DAWN on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You have to be 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable site credit. Expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. Full term sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789.
3 days of 3HL for me and 3 times of Neon Moon being in my head when I leave this station.
By the way, I learned yesterday that you auditioned for The Voice.
Kind of. 3HL 104.5 The Zone. Yeah.
Will Bowling can sing?
That's right. Look out, world.
I mean, like, what kind of singer are you? What did you sing?
Like for like my tryout?
Yeah.
I sang Colder Weather by Zach Brown Band. This was in college. And Thomas Rhett's song. But I'm not a country. Like, I would not sing country. Like, I don't know what it would be now.
Like, how did you do? What was their reaction? What was the reaction
I didn't
to you?
do the blind audition. Like, you have to, like, get to that point.
Right.
I never sent in my tape, but I made a tape, basically. Like, we had a contact where I could skip the line at the audition to, like, go to the blind auditions where you give them a tape. They, like, know who you are. Then you just meet them and, like, I guess do whatever you do. And then they, like, advance you to the blind auditions.
Yeah.
And then we, like, basically they were like, oh, no, we're not doing, like, any of those this year. And so then I was like, okay, well, I don't want to, like, wait in line for, like, 5 hours and do this.
Okay.
But yes.
Did you have any idea, Joe Honk, that this kid could sing?
No.
Well, I mean, I'm from Nashville.
Zach Brown Band Colder Weather, because I absolutely love that song.
I'm from Nashville. Like,
Are you going to sing?
Not right now.
On this show? You're not going to sing on this show?
No, Julio Jones just got cut. People don't want to hear me sing.
I need you to sing a Julio Jones cut.
Stop.
I mean, you are.
Stop.
You
I
do
need
have an
a
instinct.
Julio
Bye, bye, bye.
Jones is gone. Come on, I need something.
No, I'm not doing this. I can't do it right now.
I think that's the exact way we should cap the show off at 5:45.
I don't need
That
people.
sounds good. You know what? We'll just close out the show with a Will Bowling rendition of Julio Jones cut.
I don't need people swerving off their roads out of just pure adoration of me. That, now. We got to save this.
Well, we'll see if we would have put you on The Voice or not. Lord. By the way, all of this, the reason that you heard Brooks and Dunn again is because I'm giving away tickets right now. So, Brooks and Dunn returning to the road for their Reboot 2022 tour. They're coming to Nashville's Bridgestone Arena on June 18th. Darius Rucker are going to be with them, by the way. 104.5 The Zone has your chance to win tickets. Caller number 5, call Joe Honk right now, 615-737-1045. You can also call to chat about Julio Jones being released by the Titans. Tickets go on sale Friday morning at 10 a.m. for Brooks and Dunn. Ticketmaster.com if you want to go buy tickets. I got to go get tickets for my in-laws. They are all in on Brooks and Dunn.
I love it. You can call Joe Hunk right now. Good luck to you trying to go see Brooks and Dunn. 615-737-1045, the number for that, as well as the number to give your reaction to Julio Jones being released. We've got a couple of minutes to do this. We're going to talk to Todd Fuhrman at 4:30, make you some money on the bracket starting tomorrow, and then we will give you more reaction as the show goes on. We've got 2 guests coming up, 4:30 and then 5:20 in hour 3 of Bert Bertelkamp of Tennessee basketball. So we've got plenty of time to talk with you people. 615-737-1045. Let's go to Eric in Columbia up next to talk about Julio Jones. Good afternoon, Eric.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Good. So I'm going to go against the narrative. I know everybody's kind of like whatever, but I mean, at least give the guy one more year. I mean, yeah, you said it, Dawn. We don't know what went on behind the scenes and everything. We lost a draft pick and everything. And I was going to say a couple expletives or whatever because I was just pissed off there for a minute. But I was arguing with people last season about, I don't know what the Titans are doing. They're doing the same thing again. Everybody says J-Rob is Vrabel's boss. Well, I think it's the other way around. I think Vrabel is John Robinson's boss, and he's telling John Robinson who to pick and what to draft. I called it on Anthony Ferguson. He's not a tight end one. Whatever. If they sink, they sink, and if Vrabel's going to be another Billy O of Houston. He's not freaking Bill Belichick. So, yeah, that's all I got. So.
Wow.
Thank you, Eric.
There's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
I'll say this. I don't think John Robinson is going to just do whatever Mike Vrabel tells him or wants to do. I think you've got 2 men that are clearly extremely what's the word? To what they're
lockstep?
doing, right? No, not in lockstep.
Really?
I don't necessarily think
You don't
they
think
are.
so?
No, because I think you have two very opinionated guys and especially variable.
Yeah.
And I don't think they necessarily probably agree on everything, but they make it work because at the end of the day, you also have two guys that all they want to do is win.
Well, and I think that's part of the reason why this decision was made is, okay, do we keep him around or do we move on this, get the $9.5 million, because we're going to be going through this exact same thing next year where one single play will take him out for 10 weeks. Because that's basically what happened when he got injured against the Colts. Mm-hmm. So let's go ahead, move forward, get the cap space, and find a receiver that we can get on the field and actually make plays.
615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. Let's go to Fred in Murfreesboro. Up next, talking Titans free agency. What's going on, Fred?
Yes, how you all doing?
Good.
I had a quick comment and I guess a couple of questions. First, I don't have a problem with them releasing Julio because he was always hurt. You know, he kind of never got on the same page with Tannehill. Tannehill would rather throw a ball to the third string receiver instead of throwing to him. So I don't have a problem with them releasing Julio Jones. However, when we did get Julio last year, it did give us some type of championship ambitions, right? So I think everybody was saying, man, we got Julio, we got a chance to go to the Super Bowl now. What has the Titans done? First question, I have two questions. First question is, what has the Titans done this offseason that has made us feel like we have Super Bowl ambitions, especially since the AFC has gotten better? And two, why is the Titans not going after Deshaun Watson? Thank you.
Thank you for the call, Fred.
One, signed Derrick Henry to a long-term deal.
The Deshaun Watson thing, the Texans denied the Colts' request to talk with Deshaun Watson and are refusing to even let teams meet with him in the AFC South. So that's a non-starter because the Texans should not trade a franchise quarterback within their division. That would be dumb for them from their point of view.
And not to mention, you're tied to Ryan Tannehill from a money standpoint and contract standpoint. Like you would have to move Tannehill, and you're not going to move Tannehill for Watson. That's there's just it ain't going to happen. So that's number one reason on that. As far as the Titans, what have they done in order to prove or show that they're looking at a championship? They also just signed Harold Landry.
Exactly.
And kept him and didn't let him walk. And basically said, look, do you see this defense? We're going to run it back.
Right.
Minus Janoris Jenkins, Jackrabbit, which wasn't a surprise at all. Everybody was waiting for that to happen with what you got money-wise back by letting him go. And you also look at that and you feel like Caleb Farley, at least they, I think, feel like Caleb Farley is the guy and that he can handle it and he can step in. I mean, there were many a times where I think you felt like Jackrabbit was on the back end of his career anyway. So my answer to that is defensively, this franchise has said, you saw how good this defense was last year. We're going to keep Harold Landry. We're going to keep this unit together. We're going to run it back and go and try and win a title this year. And then address what we need to address on the other side of the ball through free agency and draft.
The thing that they said is we had the best front four in football last year on the defensive side of the football. Let's keep those guys with as many good quarterbacks as there are in the AFC right now. And a new one that comes in, the Denver Broncos, who is on your schedule out of the AFC West. So, good quarterbacks in the league, young quarterbacks in the AFC. You need weapons to make them not great. And that's exactly what you do. And by bringing back Harold Landry and kind of running it back with that group. 615-737-1045, the number. Appreciate the call. We've got lots more to discuss with you as the show goes on. But now we pivot to our guy, Todd Fuhrman, on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Todd, the odds were certainly a talking point of the AFC South yesterday when people saw the Colts at plus 150 already without a quarterback. Julio Jones away from the Titans now. Where do you look at the way too early odds after this move in the AFC South for the Titans?
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans parting ways with Julio Jones won't change their outlook for the season or any of those dynamics. I mean, I was one, Don, you can attest to, despite me saying I thought the Colts would win the division last year, that people needed to temper their expectations about what Julio could bring to the table. And unfortunately, that acquisition never bore fruit. Now, as far as Indianapolis, I think it's a fascinating question to try and figure out what direction they're going to go in and who will ultimately be taking snaps under center. They'd be a logical fit for someone like Matt Ryan at this point in his career if the Atlanta Falcons went out and acquired Deshaun Watson. I think if Baker Mayfield has no job, Indianapolis might kick the tires there. But to be quite honest, I think the best fit of a quarterback potentially available for what Frank Reich wants to do offensively would be Jimmy Garoppolo. He'd be able to go to a run-first offense, able to work off of play action, and it's a team obviously trying to reconfigure themselves defensively as well in the trade that they allowed them to acquire Yannick Ngakoue earlier today from the Raiders.
Odds that Baker's back with the Browns.
I'm going to make him a substantial underdog at this point. I'd set the price right around plus $2 for Baker to return to Cleveland, which is such a cryptic message from him yesterday in the wake of all of these discussions that it almost sounded like he was eulogizing his own career. But credit to Duke Johnson, who waited 3 years to get a little bit of revenge on Baker Mayfield for the shot that Baker took at Duke, not pulling in the same direction. That train that Baker was referencing appears to be going, or careening, I should say, right off the tracks.
No doubt.
Sure is. How do you bet these teams that just don't have quarterbacks? Like, I mean, you've got Cleveland, you've got San Francisco, Indianapolis. Where is the best value out of all of these questionable quarterback situations,
for futures?
Maybe aside even from Cleveland or Indianapolis?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no reason to really rush and try and bet these things now. We have 300 some odd days until we'll hand out the Lombardi Trophy again. So unless you feel like you have inside information or access to personnel decisions before they're generally made public that allows you to get a leg up on the competition, it's kind of buyer beware. And don't ever chase some of those big ticket items that are out there. We did have an interesting story break out here last week that there was a gentleman or a group of them out there trying to bet Tampa to win the Super Bowl at, much longer odds than what the Bucs were once Tom Brady announced that he would be returning. So they were shopping around, picking off prices at 40 or 50 to 1. Clearly there was a little bit of intel, and that's the great part about the hot stove league that essentially takes place during NFL free agency. It's a lot more speculation than it is known commodities, and sometimes you'll end up on the right side of the stick in the decision as far as betting early, and sometimes you'll end up, putting a bet out there that doesn't quite come to fruition.
All right, let's talk hoops. Obviously, one of the biggest betting weeks, or I guess couple of weeks of the year, right? NCAA best value in this tournament. What is it? Who is it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the futures odds, this time of year, it's very hard to really make a compelling case for anybody. I know people become enamored with Gonzaga, but a price at 3.5 or 4 to 1, that's widely available. If you essentially bet them to win each game outright and roll that over the course of a 6-game tournament, assuming seeds held, your prices would be substantially better than that. What we've seen traditionally in the tournament, for all this talk about parity and Cinderella, number one seeds, Dawn, have won 10 out of the last 14 NCAA tournaments, including the last 4. So don't go digging too far down on those seed lines trying to find that Cinderella. If you're also trying to identify teams to win the national championship, the biggest long shot that we had over the last 20 years was UConn back in 2014. Other than that, you really haven't had a team priced of more than 30 to 1 be able to cut down the net. So I think those are all things worthwhile and considering, not only when you're looking to try and bet some of these games, but also when you're filling out your brackets, that sure, you may get a double-digit seed into the Final Four, but the likelihood of them being able to win all 6 games required to win the national title, extremely low.
Todd, Tennessee has never made the Final Four in their school history. Rick Barnes only has 1 Final Four in his career at a couple of different stops of high-profile basketball programs. How do you look at this Tennessee team, plus 500 last I saw, to win the South region and make the Final Four? Obviously underseeded. It's well documented that they likely should have been a 2 instead of a 3. But how do you approach this Tennessee team that's hot at the right time right now?
Yeah, and I think Tennessee, seed-wise, I don't put a ton of credence in a lot of that, but when you look at their overall body of work, they definitely deserved better. But I think more importantly, Tennessee would have benefited immensely if they were the 3 seed in the Midwest region, more so than the South. Now, Arizona's health remains a major question mark. Will Krissa be able to go dealing with that high ankle sprain? If that's the case, it makes Arizona as dynamic as any team in the country, despite inexperience both on the sidelines with Tommy Lloyd and with a roster that hasn't played in the tournament. Now, as far as Tennessee, one thing that they're going to have to get through is Rick Barnes' futility from an against-the-spread standpoint. And while I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, they don't think it's important to factor into the equation, there's a reason that Rick Barnes in his last 13 tournament games has underwhelmed odds makers, going 1-11-1 against the spread. Now, will that come into play against a team like Longwood in the opening round? No, Tennessee can comfortably win a basketball game as an 18-point favorite and not cover that number. But when you're talking about what could be a matchup in the Sweet 16 with Villanova, then you do wonder which coach will be able to make the adjustments. And while Tennessee has played extremely well, you did see that level of emotion that they had to try and channel to win the SEC Conference tournament. I worry that this team has played its best basketball and they won't be able to replicate that. I think Tennessee, ceiling, in my opinion, while it can be a Final Four, I have them bowing out in the Elite Eight.
Todd, the matchup that could be waiting for Tennessee in the second round, Michigan and Colorado State. Michigan as an 11 seed, a 1-point favorite against Colorado State in a game that'll help kind of really kick off the tournament. In fact, it will tip off the tournament tomorrow at 11:15. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, and a very different dynamic in this game than what we anticipated coming in. You saw Michigan get bet immediately on the open from Pick'em out upwards of 2.5. And late last evening, early this morning, speculation that Michigan was going to be down one of its key contributors. That rumor was true. Devontae Jones will miss dealing with a concussion, and it changes one of Michigan's primary focuses as far as their backcourt and the tandem of guards, him paired alongside Eli Brooks against David Roddy and a very underrated Colorado State team. Now, all that being said, Colorado State wasn't worthy of a 6 seed, and that may be why the committee said, you know what, the hell with it. We're going to allow a 6 seed to travel east and essentially play a home game for Michigan at the scene of the crime where they blew a massive lead last week in the Big Ten tournament, Gainbridge Fieldhouse, against the Indiana Hoosiers. I think as this number leaks down, Michigan is going to pound the paint. I'm not sure Colorado State has encountered a big that's as skilled as Hunter Dickinson, and that will make the difference. But I don't see nearly as much betting value now, knowing that some of Michigan's depth will be compromised. And this may be a Rams team that's had to hear for the last 48 hours about how the Mountain West didn't deserve 4 teams in the field.
Todd Fuhrman making you money here on 3HL, Bet the Board podcast, CBS. Todd, always appreciate the time. Talk
War
soon.
Eagle, Todd. War Eagle.
Yeah, we'll see. Hey, you know what, Don? Honestly, when I spoke about the Midwest earlier, it's a region that I think sets up well for Auburn. The reason being is that the 2, 3, and 4 seeds all were teams that I was looking to bet against, but I have to find teams that can actually beat them. So when you're talking about Auburn, Providence, and Wisconsin, 3 teams trending in the wrong direction, maybe it becomes a pillow fight and you can still be the toughest Smurf and have a chance to get out of the region.
Hey, you know what? We'll take it.
There's no doubt about it. Given the turmoil that the football program has gone through this offseason, Auburn is officially a hoop school.
Look at you.
I love
gotta
it.
Bring up old stuff.
I love it. Twisting the knife. Thank you, Todd.
See you, Todd.
You got it, guys.
All right, there is Todd Fuhrman on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. When we come back, more of your phone calls reacting to the big news of the day. The Titans moving on from Julio Jones. And one name that could be on the way in, maybe. Got a little bit of money. And you're the betting favorite for a wide receiver. We'll talk about that coming up next. 3HL.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. High interest rate credit cards starting to build up? Is it time to make some home remodeling projects a reality? Well, our average client received over $54,000 with a simple cash out refinance. What would you do with an extra $54,000? Let's get the process started today. Apply online at thehomeloanexpert.com.
That was
3HL 104.5 The Zone. We're hanging out with you on this Wednesday afternoon. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Julio Jones is out. Who could be on the way back in? Might be a draft conversation or could be an opportunity where you buy low on somebody with value. Will Bowling, Don Davenport with you. We go back to the phones where Joseph is in Tullahoma. He's got a free agent idea for the Titans. What's going on, Joseph?
Hey, so I haven't heard anything lately on Juju Smith-Schuster, but I just seen where the Browns released Austin Hooper. That would be a great addition for us for a tight end, I think.
Yes. Thank you for the call, Joseph. Juju
We
Smith-Schuster
talked a lot about Austin Hooper before the show.
Yeah, and that was one of the things we had on the docket to talk about before the Julio news broke right at the beginning of the show. But the Browns signed Austin Hooper in 2020, coming off of his best season in Atlanta when he caught 75 balls for 787 yards and 6 touchdowns. And the Browns, actually, they saved $9.5 million against the cap by releasing Austin Hooper post June 1st. So the exact same situation the Titans are in. His production was not good in Cleveland, 38 catches for 345 and 3 touchdowns, starting along with David Njoku in a 2 tight end offense. Whoever the Titans bring in.
Me.
Yeah.
But I get it. Money-wise, like, you have to look at guys like that.
Whoever you bring in at this point is not going to be tight end 1. It's going to be tight end 1A or 1B with whoever you draft, I believe. I think on day 2 of the draft.
Ugh.
Yeah. 615-737-1045.
That makes me a little nervous. Let's hit a little bit on Juju.
Yes.
Because we talked yesterday on this show a little bit. He was the Titans were the odds-on favorite to land Juju.
Plus 300.
Right. Who was next? Do you remember?
I don't. Let me go find that.
I
no,
just
it's
put
okay.
you on the spot. That's on me. I can't remember either.
Juju last year signed a 1-year, $8 million deal with the Steelers, was injured, and you got to think is going to be open for another 1-year deal to try to prove it and raise that value up because he's had over 1,000 yards early in his career. The Steelers brought in Chase Claypool. His role changed from there. But it's a guy who's still 25 years old. He's coming off of an injury last season, so that obviously changes the price tag and the way you manage him. But he's a guy that has the versatility to play in the slot and on the outside. He's probably the ideal wide receiver 2 behind A.J. Brown and gives you the flexibility not to put as much pressure on somebody that you draft probably, I think, in the first round. I mean, all signs are pointing to Titans brought back Ben Jones. They brought back Harold Landry. They expect Caleb Farley and Dylan Radins to step up this year. Mm-hmm. They're drafting wide receiver, and they're probably picking up one as well.
If you read Pittsburgh beat writers stuff, a lot of talk about, well, first of all, that he would be very valuable to that roster right now from an experience, reliability, that veteran presence standpoint, when they've got some young receivers in that room and no Ben Roethlisberger next year, right?
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up there on another short deal, but they also talk about how his market is much worse this year than it was last year.
Right.
And that could be a plus for the Titans.
Can you convince Juju Smith-Schuster to do what every other wide receiver is seemingly doing, not named Christian Kirk? Or basically every receiver that hasn't gone to Jacksonville is taking 1-year deals, it seems like.
Right.
There are a lot, not everyone, but it seems
There's
like
a lot of 1-year deals.
And we talked about this with
Red B
Coach
was talking
Mack.
about that earlier too. We
Exactly.
asked Coach Mack about it, and there's a reason these players are betting on themselves, and then the salary cap catching up after COVID next year to where they can get paid.
Can you convince Juju Smith-Schuster to take a 1-year, $6 million deal? I think you take him at that number, and you figure out what you need to figure out down the road, which probably means a restructure of Zach Cunningham.
Which should happen anyway.
Which probably happens anyway to give you additional flexibility going into the season and the additional flexibility money-wise to sign your draft class.
Because at the end of the day, you look at this roster And Coach Mack addressed this. If you missed Coach Mack's talk, Salary Cap
Really
101 talk, it really is helpful when we talk about these things to go learn about it from him. You know, he's been in this league forever when things have changed, obviously, but he did a great job of kind of explaining it and then pointing out examples in Titans history as well. So you look at this roster, though, I'm not going to harp on it, but I feel like last year was the year, right? But that's fine. We're going to let that go. There's some.
Are we? I don't want to let it go.
Clearly, we're not letting it go. There was some unlucky things that happened with Derrick Henry, with Julio Jones and the hamstring, all that on a day where Julio Jones is now gone because he wasn't what you expected him to be when you brought him in, right?
Right.
But you look at this roster. If you're going to win a Super Bowl, you have some holes to fill, yes, but your defense, you have decided to run it back, and Harold Landry's there, and you know what you have with hopefully a healthier Bud Dupree, with Kevin Byard back there, with I'm guessing that they have confidence that Caleb Farley can be a guy because you got rid of Jack Rabbit, but your Derrick Henry contract, your Ryan Tannehill contract, you have A.J. Brown on a rookie deal. Still, now maybe you figure out something long-term for him. But regardless, this is kind of your year to do it.
Yeah.
Right? This is your year. So figure out how to do it. If that's restructuring and pushing money down the line, then so be it, because this has to be your year, right?
Right. I think so. And Juju Smith-Schuster diving deeper into what he gave the Steelers as a wide receiver 2 in 2020. 831 yards, 9 touchdowns. The 9 touchdowns were the most that he had in a season, and that was as the secondary option to Chase Claypool. 2018, he had 1,426 yards, but 7 touchdowns. That's what the Titans didn't get out of Julio Jones last year, Dawn.
Yep.
They didn't get the red zone threat. And Julio Jones has never been that in his career. I mean, mind you, that's the weakness in Julio Jones' game in his entire time in the NFL, is the touchdown numbers proportionally aren't there compared to what he's done yardage-wise. I've had that dude on so many fantasy teams, and he doesn't like, he's not a fantasy wide receiver because he doesn't score as many touchdowns compared to what guys that are also picking up his yardage are often doing.
Yeah, because the moment that they get inside the red zone, no matter if it was the Titans or if it was the Falcons, he got double teamed, and he took all the pressure, and then allowed somebody else to make the reception for the touchdown.
615-737-1045 if you want to jump in. Final hour of 3HL this week. Coming up next on Davenport. March Madness is approaching, and we have got Bert Bertelkamp, analyst for Tennessee basketball, SEC tournament champion in the broadcast booth and on the court for Tennessee basketball. Coming up at 5:20. More of your phone calls at 615-737-1045. One more hour coming up next. 3HL 1045 The Zone.
Hey, season tickets. Now is the time to jump in on Smashville, and now's the time to get your Preds season tickets for the 2022-23 season. They are on sale now. Maybe you don't want to commit yet to a full year. You certainly can. But they also have half and quarter season plans available. Be a part of the Loyal Legion, and you will get the best seat locations. You'll get priority access to 2022 Stanley Cup playoff tickets. And as a season ticket citizen, as a matter of fact, your Stanley Cup playoff tickets for round 1 will actually be up to 20% lower than your regular season price. Preds are going to make a run. I'm calling it now. So you might want to be a part of it. Season ticket citizens will also get up to 6 bonus tickets to share with your friends and your family during the 2022-23 regular season. On top of that, there are concession discounts. There's discounts at the Nashville locker room, so you can get, gear to wear to all of your games, pre-sales to shows at Bridgestone Arena, and you can also save on Preds Foundation events, which are always a ton of fun. I do not miss their foundation events. They're so much fun. Learn more at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. That's NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
Good afternoon. I am Joe Hunk, and the major news coming down today is the fact not that the NFL new year just started. That is major news, but it's what's happened so far since it started at 3 o'clock, and that is the news that, according to multiple sources, the Titans will be releasing Julio Jones. It is supposed to be a post-June 1 designation, which is going to give the Titans $9.5 million in cap space. Now, when it comes to college basketball, because the tournament does start tomorrow, technically it actually starts tonight. Well, actually, it started yesterday, but another set of playing games are happening tonight. 16 seed matchup is going to be Bryant versus Wright State. We will join that game in progress at 6 o'clock immediately following 3HL. It's on True TV, but let's be honest, no one knows where that's at. Also, following that game is going to be the 11 seed matchup between Notre Dame and Rutgers. The winner of that will take on Alabama. And congratulations to Braden Miller. He was voted the 2022 TSSAA Mr. Basketball. It is the first Mr. Basketball in Cane Ridge school history. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Vols, the flagship station for your Tennessee Titans, and home to 3HL. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Final hour of the week. We love a Wednesday that feels like a Friday. Here on 3HL 104.5 The Zone, where the bracket begins tomorrow. And we've got one more hour with you to catch up on the latest NFL headlines. The Titans getting rid of Julio Jones. Bert Bertelkamp, analyst for Tennessee basketball, coming up in 15 minutes. Our final four picks and what the analytics say about the Tennessee basketball Volunteers. Will Bowling, Don Davenport with you, where somewhere, Don, Brent Doherty and Ron Slay have their feet up in the sand and a cold drink in their hand right now once again.
Yes, and we are not on the air Thursday and Friday because we carry the tournament broadcast games.
That is correct.
On our air. So I think Buck is the last show tomorrow that is actually on the air, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they'll be live in Donaldson at Party Foul.
Yes.
Yes.
So you can go join them. Buck Rising will broadcast live there tomorrow. But anyway, I think all that to say, Mr. Slay is coming back into town tomorrow.
That's right.
And is going to party at Party Foul. So if you're a Tennessee fan and you want to see Ron Slay, UT Love up close and personal in person, there you go. You can go see him at Party Foul. So we will all be back together on Monday. So they've enjoyed a nice little break, nice little spring break. It's cloudy and gross today too.
Yeah, it is. This is
This
is the spring of deception, is what this is called in Nashville, Tennessee.
Right.
When you think it's spring and it's very clearly not. 615-737-1045. Of course, the big news of the day, Julio Jones released by the Tennessee Titans, a post-June 1st designation, meaning the Titans will save $9.5 million for this upcoming season. And the draft priorities and the free agent priorities take more shape as the new league year officially begins. And now you don't just have a need for a slot receiver. You have a need for a wide receiver too. And you might try to find that in the same guy. Someone that is versatile enough to be your slot and someone who also might be able to play on the outside. Juju Smith-Schuster is a name. Cole Beasley, another name that is on the way out in Buffalo. That intrigues me a little bit. But he makes a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the problem. And we talked a lot about salary cap and where the Titans are, and they were over prior to releasing Jackrabbit.
That's right. So something to monitor there. You can react with us to that as well at 615-737-1045. We have had mostly reasonable reaction to this. Pat yourself on the back, people. Not to say there's one right or wrong way to react to this, but most Titans fans are okay with this.
There is a common theme on the Twitter feed, though.
Yeah.
On our at 3HL1045, by the way, if you want to talk to us through that or give us a call, Hunk will chat with you and see what you want to talk about when it comes to Julio or Titans or basketball, if you want to jump in that conversation too, because Bert Bertelkamp's coming up at 5:20. But
that's right.
C. Brent V on Twitter said, Jones is another J-Rob bust. And that is a common theme. And I mean, you certainly, I don't think you saw this one coming necessarily. I mean, with his age, 33 years old, you certainly worried about it.
Right.
But as Coach Mack said earlier, like, you swung. You thought that it would work out. And honestly, I keep saying it, but when he was on the field, he made a difference. It was the fact that he wasn't on the field.
Right.
You know? But yeah, so the Titans, we talk about this year's draft, the Titans lost a second and a fourth now with Julio not panning out. And that's a big bust because that affects you big time. And then you couple that with obviously the Isaiah Wilson draft pick, the Jadeveon Clowney that didn't work out, and that one was super frustrating because I was all about that move.
Yeah.
All about that move.
Right.
I thought for sure he would come in and that would work. But man, the Titans have had really bad luck on injuries with some of the what looked like blockbuster great moves that they make the last 2 years that just haven't panned out because of injury.
It feels like John Robinson is really good at hitting doubles and often not as good at hitting a home run.
Right.
On these really big swings. So when he swings for the fences, it has crashed and burned more often than not recently, but it hasn't affected the on-field performance enough for it to be a huge issue because he's hit a lot of doubles, right? I mean, Kevin Byard and the value you got with him late on in the NFL draft.
Yep.
Zach Cunningham, a guy who falls into your lap, who's a perfect fit late in the season last year. You talk about Harold Landry, Bud Dupree coming off of his knee. Jury's still out on him, but
that one's looking to work out.
Right. But Jeffrey Simmons and Nico Autry are the best interior defensive tackle pairing you could argue in the league right now.
Yep.
And those guys make everybody else better. So you've taken some risks.
And that was a heck of a chance you took on a draft pick on Jeffrey Simmons, too, with his history, with his injury, that close to draft time. And honestly, if he didn't go through that injury, you never would have got him where you got him.
Right.
So, but that was a chance J-Rob took, and jury's still out on Caleb Farley and that chance.
Right.
So there have been some home runs and there have been some really bad misses, and the Julio saga is now a bad miss.
Every time you have a late round pick that becomes a big-time contributor, you give yourself a little bit bigger of a margin for error to make mistakes on the Julio Jones of the world, but you also give yourself less ammo to make more of those moves down the road.
Right.
The second-round pick the Titans took with A.J. Brown, you don't have because you gave up the future possibility of doing that again and finding similar value by going to get Julio Jones. That is the balance of what the National Football League is. You're balancing the risk of we want to win right now. We've got a running back that's not getting any younger. We have got a quarterback we're paying a whole lot of money. How do we make him be his absolute best? When on the other side, every time you've given up those draft pick assets, it hasn't worked out perfectly for you. Far from it. So it's an interesting conversation going into this offseason of what the Titans do next. And they gained 2 more compensatory picks yesterday. They have at their disposal, which certainly doesn't hurt. 615-737-1045. We go back to the phones where Jamie wants to weigh in on Julio. What's going on, Jamie?
Hey, guys. I mean, I can't blame Julio. I watched 5 or 6 times wide open. Tannehill did not even look that way. I still think we're going to be same thing next year. We paid too much for a quarterback that was not what they thought he was.
What would you do differently? Wait and be bad and draft a quarterback? I'm just curious.
Well, no.
People that are anti-Tannehill.
Well, what are we going to get that would be better than Julio Jones?
Guys that can play more than 10 games.
Right.
I mean, availability.
Well, yeah, but even when he was in there, Tannehill couldn't get the ball to him. I mean, everybody thinks John Robinson is, the god because he came from New England. He's not.
Thank you for the call, Jamie. Here's the argument I'll make back to that. Julio Jones is never on the practice field. How is he ever supposed to gain any chemistry with Ryan Tannehill when he can't practice starting in training camp?
And you're also saying, well, who are we going to get better than Julio Jones? Julio Jones, the only reason you got Julio Jones is because he's at the end of his career. He's 33 years old as a receiver, and he has hamstring issues. So
you bought low on him already.
High ankle sprain issues.
Right.
Yeah. So I will say I do remember several times where Ryan Tannehill did not hit him when he was open. It was bad throws. I get
like
that.
the first play of the game one time where it was like
the Steelers. It was the Steelers,
Yep.
and he got sacked because Dontrell Hilliard missed up a blitz pickup.
Right.
And your guard got beat in pass protection.
And there's more to every play, too.
Yes.
And I still go back to and maintain some of the play calling was an issue as well. But at the end of the day, Julio Jones played just 10 games. He's old. He was injured, and he was not available for Ryan Tannehill to develop any kind of chemistry with him. And I said it during training camp, and Brent and Ron Slade gave me crap about it. But I was like, I get it. You guys don't want to see these guys in the preseason.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see these veterans on the field. And you're okay with them not practicing. But at the end of the day, they have to find some kind of rhythm with their brand new quarterback and their brand new receiver. And they were never able to do that. And Mike Vrabel is a coach who will take care of his players and make sure that they stay healthy and that they're available. And if that means they don't practice a single day, then that means they don't practice a single day. But that also comes back to bite you. And at the end of the day, Julio Jones was just not available. You can't put that one on Ryan Tannehill.
And he wasn't willing to do the dirty work and help you block for Derrick Henry, which at the end of the day is...
I mean, I wouldn't either if I was a vet.
Right.
Just saying.
And Corey Davis was terrific at that. It wasn't as predictable what the Titans were going to do when Corey Davis was on the field because he could block and he could catch with the best of them. So, Cooper Kupp, same way. One of the best run-blocking wide receivers in the league is the dude that just about set the single-season record for receiving yards in a season because he can do everything, and you never know exactly what he's doing when he's on the field.
By the way, Cooper Kupp ran a 4.62. You know how we were talking about, needing a speed guy? 4.62 for Kupp. Not a speed guy. Very unimpressive.
Right.
And look what he just did. Van Jefferson was a 4.43.
Who is the Hunter Renfrow that's available for the Titans this time around? That's what they need. They never replaced Adam Humphries.
God, that's another bust freaking injury.
Injuries.
Again, concussion.
And that one, a play that wasn't even a penalty that should have been a penalty in Cincinnati.
Don't even get me started on that play.
615-737-1045.
But that was another J-Rock, and I thought that was the right move too.
Yeah.
Man, bad luck.
Coming up, we pivot to a little bit of college hoops. Tournament starts tomorrow. Tomorrow is the best sports day of the entire year. Best sports day of the year. Bert Bertelkamp, Mr. Money, is going to join us. Talking Tennessee basketball, talking SEC tournament. A member of Tennessee's last team before this one to win the SEC tournament as well. We'll get into that. Bert Bertelkamp coming up next, 104.5 The Zone.
Yes, 3 mistakes. But don't make a mistake with your home value. It's way up here in Middle Tennessee, and you can use the money now to pay off credit cards or remodel your house, or maybe you want to do both. Yes, Loan Pronto. That's where you need to do it. Convert home equity into cash. You can do it in as little as 2 weeks with no cost to you and zero hassle. I always talk about examples, and I use myself because I used Loan Pronto, went on loanpronto.com and got cash out and did that. Well, Mike and Joan in Brentwood also did it. They did a Loan Pronto zero cost cash out refi. They got a check for $100,000, used half of it to pay off all of their credit cards, and then they used the other $50,000 to upgrade their kitchen. Locked in a new APR in the 2s, lowered their total monthly bills by hundreds of dollars, and you can do the same. What are you waiting for? Call Loan Pronto now. Convert your home value into cash. and put that money to good use. 615-499-5780 is your phone number. LoanPronto.com. You do it now. You could even skip your next 2 house payments. LoanPronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
3HL 104.5 The Zone. NCAA tournament kicking off tomorrow. You can hear Vol Network coverage here on 104.5 The Zone. Tennessee and Longwood, the Lancers.
I was hoping that heading into our next guest, we'd get like a song with money in it or something. The word money. Money.
I'm not going to lie. I was honestly just trying to see if Will would sing a
Oh,
way
stop,
back.
stop.
That was the only thing I was thinking.
Will Bowling, Don Davenport with
That's
you here
money.
on 3HL. We are pleased to be joined by Vol Network hoops analyst Bert Bertelkamp here on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Bert, first of all, thanks so much for taking a couple of minutes. I'm curious how many times people will just walk up to you in the street and just yell money every time they see you.
Well, it happens. It happens quite a bit. I think some people think that's my real name. And I used to take my son everywhere with me. He's kind of outgrown me at this point. But when he used to hang out with me, they'd call him Little Money. We just get a kick out of that.
I love it.
But I got a question for you all. Ron Slay is supposed to be a sports talk host. What is he doing on the beat?
Right?
When we got the NCAA tournament, and he's supposed to be a basketball guy. I don't understand. How come you guys let him off?
Exactly. And his Vols are like an analytical favorite here, and he's not even here to talk about it, you know? I'm with you.
It's hard to believe. I'd dock his pay for sure.
I love it. I love it. Well, he was having quite the celebration as he and our guy Ramon Foster were driving down to the beach as Tennessee ended the drought. They win the SEC tournament. What a week it was for Tennessee down in Tampa. What was the biggest thing that stuck out to you, Bert, about the way that this team played and the identity of this team that continues to get so much more impressive and so much deeper as the season goes?
Well, I think it's their focus. They've won 12 out of 13 games against top-flight competition, and they've stayed focused, especially on the defensive end. And that's on the court what impresses me. But off the court and just being around the guys, the relationship they have with Coach Barnes and the coaching staff and with each other, it's you can just tell it's a special group. And I've been around these Tennessee teams for, my whole career and ever since I've been doing the radio. And we've had a lot of great guys and a lot of great teams. But this team just has something special. They really like each other. They're unselfish, and it's just a great group. So I think the character and the chemistry stands out the most, and I think that can carry them a long way in the tournament.
Well, and Bert, it seemed full circle as well. At the last time the tournament was in Tampa, it was Mississippi State in 2009. Jarvis Bernardo, a team gets hot at the right time, and a favored Tennessee team falls short. It felt like Tennessee was able to kind of exercise some demons, right, in this SEC tournament. How much confidence does that give you? I know you played on an SEC tournament team that won that thing as well at Tennessee. How much does that change the conversation in the locker room in Indianapolis as Tennessee gets ready for Longwood tomorrow?
Well, I think it's always good when you win, and it's a confident group. But to win the tournament in such a tough SEC this year, I think means a lot. And I think their confidence is at a high point, and just the achievement and it's somewhat a relief of finally winning the tournament. We've been in the finals a bunch of times, and we haven't won it since 1979. And honestly, me and my teammates, we get kind of tired of hearing about that,
right?
Because these guys, we should have won one between then and now, but we have now. So the monkey's off our back, and I think the guys are really excited about the opportunity to move forward in the NCAA tournament. They're a hard-working group. They had a good, crisp practice today, and I think they're ready to play.
Just curious, what was kind of the inside talk about the seeding? Because obviously Tennessee fans were very vocal and not happy about it. Just curious what you guys thought about it.
Well, initially I thought that I just couldn't figure out how they would be a 3 seed behind Kentucky and behind Duke, frankly, with the season we had and the fact that we beat Kentucky twice and we beat Auburn, maybe even Auburn, but Auburn didn't win the regular season. But I think once the initial, I won't say shock, but maybe a little bit of disappointment not being a 2 seed, it doesn't really make that much difference. I think we're in a great spot as a 3. We've got games that I think we can win, and they're just ready to play. I don't think they really care who they play, and I think being a 3 seed is an honor, and they're excited about the opportunity.
Bert, Josiah Jordan-James is one of the best two-way players in the SEC, and I know there's only 5 guys that can make the all-defensive team in the conference, and there's 5 good ones on that list, including Tennessee guard Zakai Ziegler. But where have you seen Josiah Jordan-James make the biggest leap from his sophomore season to his junior season? Because you got to have somebody get hot and somebody hit a lot of shots and make a lot of big plays, and Josiah Jordan-James hasn't had as many of the accolades as some of his teammates here late, but I feel like Tennessee's not in that position hoisting the trophy without Triple J's leadership down the stretch here.
I agree with you 100%. In fact, Bob Kessling and I were talking earlier today, and I asked him, and we were just kicking it around, who is the MVP of this team? Who is the most valuable player? And we both feel like Josiah probably is that player. And I think if they divided up the team and decided they were going to play some pickup games, who would be the first player picked? And I think it'd be him. And where he's shown the most growth is his assertiveness and his leadership, particularly on the offensive end. When he scores 12 to 15 points, we're hard to beat because our guards are going to score. Two of the 3, or sometimes all 3 of them, are going to be productive offensively. But Josiah, he is not, throughout his career, at least the first couple of years, he was not assertive on the offensive end. He never looked for his shot. He never used his athleticism. But this year is a different story, and he's such a great athlete, and he does everything. You're right about him being a two-way player. When our defense is really strong, but when he goes out, it backs up a little bit because he takes up the slack and he helps out his teammates. He's our best rebounder. He's probably our most athletic player and just a great young man. You couldn't ask for a nicer young man than Josiah. I really like him, and he's been a pleasure to watch. And in this season, it's great that he's been successful, as successful as he has. And how he got left off that all-defensive team is a mystery to me. I guarantee if you ask the people he guarded this year, they would feel the same way.
Absolutely. Bert Bertelkamp with us here on 3HL. Bert, when you talk about the leadership, I know you mentioned the chemistry in that locker room being really positive for this team. The baton was kind of passed, early by Kevin Punter when Rick Barnes came in. Obviously, Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, Lamonte Turner, and Jordan Bowden kind of passed the torch. And Josiah Jordan-James was kind of the next extension of next up, right? To be that veteran leader and to be that voice in the locker room. It seems like what he offers this team off the court is just as valuable as on it. Him and Santiago Vescovi, I've been so impressed with the way they've stepped up and been more vocal guys this season.
You're exactly right. Josiah, I mentioned he was not assertive on the offensive end, and he's not a loud leader. He doesn't. But this year he's been more vocal. And Coach Barnes has commented on it numerous times during our post-game talks that he said Josiah would pretty much take over a timeout and put his 2 cents worth in. And Santiago has just had a tremendous year. He's got to be the most improved player, one of the most improved players in the country. He's another one that's an all-around player. His defense is underrated. He's an excellent defender, but he does everything. He rebounds for a guard. He's a great rebounder. And he's a leader. He's a player they look to throughout the game. And when he comes out, we miss him. You can tell he's not playing. Things just go better when he's in the game. And, of course, he's the guy they look to at the end of the game. He and Zakai Ziegler and Kennedy Chandler to take care of the game and finish the game by making free throws. And I think his percentage is up near 90% in the last 4 minutes of a game. So, and he's a fine young man as well and a pleasure to be around. So those 2 guys have been really, really great leaders this year. And you got to have that. The coaches can lead, but the players really, when you have players that kind of have that leadership among themselves, that means a lot. They hold each other accountable, and their expectations of each other are, make them play better.
Bert, it's been interesting to watch the foundation of this program under Rick Barnes and the stylistic differences from team to team. Obviously, 2019, the team that everybody brings up, Grant Williams, SEC Player of the Year, Admiral Schofield, and what that team was able to accomplish in the regular season. But that team wasn't able to accomplish what this one did by winning the SEC tournament when they ran into that really hot Auburn team. What do you feel like is the biggest difference? Where have you seen Rick Barnes adjust his style, adjust the style of the way that this team plays in order to make a run like this and get hot at the right time with this team?
Well, I think the biggest difference in those two teams, we don't have a superstar like Grant was, and we've got a team that's got depth, and this team is more made for tournament play because they got a bench. They got guys coming off the bench that and the play doesn't drop off very much when they come in, and sometimes it picks up. And with that depth, he's got flexibility. He can play small, and Josiah allows us to play small. He can go to the 4 spot, and they can bring Ziegler in, or they can bring DJ Bailey in, and they can do different things. And he's got a lot more combinations to work with. And that 2019 team had maybe better individual players, at least Bone and Schofield and Grant. They were really good players, but there wasn't the depth. And so we ran out of gas at times. Those guys played so many minutes, and these guys have been able to stay rested. And the fact that we can play big, we can play small, he can use all sorts of combinations. He's got 4 inside players that are all productive and bring different things to the game. I think that, and that allows Coach Barnes to use his creativity and to do different things depending on how the game goes. And for instance, if somebody comes out and plays his own in the first half, I'll look over at Bob. I'll go, well, they'll figure this out. If they don't figure it out on the fly, they'll figure it out at halftime, and it won't be effective the second half. They'll make adjustments. So it's a smart team, and they're coachable, and they do what he says, and they've got high basketball IQs.
Bert, I think one aspect of this conversation that we haven't talked about a lot is that first game after winning the SEC tournament. Tomorrow against Longwood. I know well documented the shot Chris Lofton hit to beat Winthrop in the last seconds of what should have probably been a more comfortable win back in the day. But how difficult is that? What's the conversation like in that locker room right now as Tennessee puts the euphoria and the joy of an SEC tournament behind them now and tries not to overlook a 14 seed, which can still cause you some problems as a team that won their league?
Yeah, they're a very good team, Longwood, and in fact, I said something. My father was talking to me, and he said something as I was leaving. I saw him before I left, and I said, he said, "What about Longwood? It'd be a tough game." And I go, "Well, it's a Big South team." And he said, "Remember Winthrop?"
Yeah, that's right.
It's a Big South team.
That's right.
Just like what you said. And I remember Winthrop it took a last-second shot by Chris Lofton.
Uh-huh.
Longwood's very good. They won 26 games. They pretty much dominated their league. But I think this team, they certainly had their eye on the SEC regular season and winning the tournament. But I think they're really looking at the Final Four in a national championship, and I think that's their goal. And they feel like they've played a tough schedule. They've grown a lot. They've gotten better and better. And I think that's their goal. I don't think there's going to be a hangover from winning the SEC tournament. I think it was a milestone. It was great for them, and they got that done, and they're certainly happy about it. But I think that there's bigger and better things ahead for them, and that's where Coach Barnes comes in. He isn't going to let them get the big head or get comfortable. He's going to have them on edge and ready to play tomorrow.
Bert, this has been great. One final thing for you on the way out. I know you get to watch a lot of basketball at the SEC tournament, and it really has been such a good league this year. And the past couple of years, you can't say enough about the way the SEC has raised their level of play, not only in the tournament, but just overall. Who impressed you the most outside of Tennessee at the tournament? Who are you expecting a deep run from that people maybe aren't talking about enough heading into the NCAA tournament from the SEC?
Well, I think any of the top 4 teams, Auburn is certainly capable. They didn't really play well down the stretch, but they could certainly make a run. They got basically an NBA front line with Kessler and Jabari Smith. So I look for them to make a run. And Arkansas is another team that they didn't play very well against Texas A&M, but they're a deep, talented team, and they play great defense. And defense carries you a long way in these tournaments. And that's another thing about the NCAA is these teams don't know you. When you beat up on each other throughout the SEC season and you scout each other and you play each other year after year and the coaches know each other, you kind of know what to expect from the other team. Now we get to play teams that we haven't seen in most cases. And so I heard one of the national experts talking about the defense in the SEC and how hard it is to score. And I think that's going to carry a lot of these SEC teams are so athletic in their defense. They're tough to score on. Alabama, Arkansas, certainly Auburn and Kentucky, all those teams are very difficult. So I think any of them are capable of getting to the Final Four, certainly. I'm not sure about LSU. They've been kind of up and down this year, and it's a darn shame Texas A&M isn't in the tournament. Yeah. I really think they should be, but I think the SEC will show well in the tournament, and it wouldn't surprise me a bit if any of those teams made a run and to the Elite Eight, even maybe the Final Four.
Tennessee basketball analyst Bert Bertelkamp has been our guest here on 3HL. Bert, thank you so much for the time. Here's to hoping we hear a lot of money tomorrow on the broadcast, and we will send our best to our guy Ron Slave for you.
All right, y'all take care. Enjoy being with you.
All right, there is Bert Bertelkamp. Appreciate him giving us a couple minutes here on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. That was good stuff. Money.
Love it.
I mean, I was like driving to basketball practice as a kid, trying to fade away shot that was short of the rim every time because I was trying to be like Chris Lofton because I would hear him yell money after all the 6 threes a game that Chris Lofton would make.
So you weren't saying Kobe, you were saying money.
Oh, I was saying money every time. Yeah. I had a video game where my player's nickname was Money, just because that way every time I made a three, it would be like money, like Bert Bertelkamp. Love it. Coming up, we wrap up the show.
Didn't know he has orange tinted blood.
Yeah. We've had season tickets since 20 years before I was born.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I was actually very impressed with how he handled himself during that because I was expecting worse.
No, get out of here. Take the surprise out your voice. I'm a radio professional, darn it. Come on.
And also,
my Lord.
Can sing on top of it, by the way.
Who's to say, really?
I mean, obviously he's singing his praises of Bert right now.
There's no way to know. We don't have the technology. I'm going
to find it.
Coming up next, we wrap up the show.
It will be found.
Don and I will give our final 4 picks. Plus, analytics love Tennessee in this tournament. How deep do they have them going? As deep as I have them in my bracket. We'll do that next. 3HL 104.5 The Zone.
Well, the all-new Paint the Town Preds pack presented by Yeehaw Brewing and Old Smoky. Purchase the pack. You receive 2 weekend game tickets, 1 weeknight game ticket of your choice, plus, you ready for this list? A Preds car flag, a $25 Yeehaw Brewing Company gift card, and the chance to purchase 2022-2023 season tickets. Visit NashvillePredators.com/paint to secure yours today. Get your Paint the Town Preds pack today and score your own hat trick in Smashville. Go Preds.
One final segment of the week. A Wednesday that feels like a Friday because NCAA tournament basketball happens tomorrow. And tomorrow and Friday are the best 2 days of the year. Will Bowling, Don Davenport back with you on 3HL. A little bit of breaking news here.
Yes, but hold on real quick.
I will.
Don't forget to get your brackets in by
Yes.
tomorrow because
That's right.
I have a family bracket I have to go fill out. I have our station bracket I got to go fill out. And by the way, the station bracket is awesome. Fill it out, register for 1045 The Zone's $1 Million Bracket Challenge. It's sponsored by the HomeLoanExpert.com and HeroLoan.com for a chance to win $1 million. That's it, just $1 million.
Pretty good
And it's
deal.
a local contest, by the way. So register today, 1045thezone.com. Jump in it.
Von Miller is a Buffalo Bill.
Talk about team going all in.
They are stacking.
They just gave a 32-year-old pass rusher a 6-year deal.
Oh, is that guaranteed or is that
6-year,
confirmed?
$120 million per Ian Rappaport.
My God.
So it'll be about 4 years before Von Miller's retired. And so you have a 4-year window. Maybe 3 years before Von Miller is done and washed up. That is a lot of money.
They're all in. And why? Because you have a quarterback on a rookie deal, right?
Oh, he signed his big contract.
Oh, he did. That's right.
But he's still on the early. It's kind of like
It's
with
the early stage of
Mahomes.
it,
Like
yep.
it's not going to get insane until there's probably a new TV deal. So Chiefs and Bills don't have rookie quarterback contracts anymore, but compared to what they are going to be paying their quarterbacks, it's not that bad yet. You ready for our final 4 picks here?
Yes. I'm just thinking about that Buffalo roster as a Titans fan.
It's not great. It's not great.
It kind of makes you want to vomit.
So before we do this, this is going to explain one of my picks because I have Tennessee in my final 4.
So do I.
Really? Okay.
I think we all three, actually, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Is that like local bias, do you think?
I think it is. Also, Bills just added tight end O.J. Howard, so there's another guy off the board, tight end for the Titans.
Jeez.
There went my guy.
I don't think it is local bias. I think it's who got hot in the conference tournament bias.
I was going to say, I think it's recency bias
And
of
one of those-
a team that I
yeah.
feel is playing well right now.
And
Yeah.
one of those teams always ends up just like it doesn't translate.
Right.
Like UConn, when they won the national championship, they got knocked out early, I want to say, with Kimball Walker. No, that was the year UConn won the Big East in the 6 overtime game against Syracuse. But you always have one team. Iowa's going to be the other one. Virginia Tech is going to be the other one. Those teams got really hot late and won their conference tournaments. One of those 3 teams is not going to make the Sweet 16.
You know, and it's also like the direct opposite when you look at, say, tonight's game, like the 11 seed matchup between Notre Dame and Rutgers. A lot of people, it doesn't matter which one of those teams are winning. They have them being picked to beat Alabama, who's a 6 seed,
right?
Because of how bad Alabama's been playing the last 2 or 3 weeks.
So speaking of this, if you do not follow Will Warren on Twitter, Tennessee fans and just basketball fans in general, that is someone you need to add to your Twitter rotation. At Stats by Will does a very, very good job breaking down every single game of the tournament, picked with 20-plus years of KenPom and other analytic data.
Okay.
Number 3 seeds at 85% or better to advance have, according to KenPom, have never lost a round of 64 game, a perfect 36-0. So here is where Will Warren's article has Tennessee beating Longwood, has Tennessee over Michigan in the second round, has Tennessee at a 66% chance to make the second weekend. So that is the Sweet 16.
Okay.
Guess who he has Tennessee playing in the Sweet 16? Not Villanova.
No.
Not Ohio State.
No.
Sister Jean.
Of course.
The analytics say that Tennessee
And then Ron Slay.
and Ron Slay is gonna have a nightmare with this.
Yep.
Or a lot of fun.
He's going to have to repent.
Loyola Chicago, per KenPom, has a 22% chance to make the Sweet 16. So 10 seeds that have a 17% chance or higher make the Sweet 16 11 out of the last 28 times. All the other ones are 2 for 56. So Tennessee over Loyola Chicago, and then Tennessee over Arizona. making the Final Four. This is where this article has it. 39% chance to make the Elite Eight, the 8th highest chance ever for a 3 seed for Tennessee. So, all that being said, I have Gonzaga over Tennessee in my national championship. I have Gonzaga, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Iowa in my Final Four.
All right.
What do you have?
Tennessee, Kansas, Gonzaga, and Kentucky.
Yeah.
Final
or no.
four?
Oh, that's what you have?
Yes.
Our only difference is Iowa then.
Yes.
I like it.
Who do you have winning it all?
Gonzaga over Tennessee.
I have Kansas
Okay.
over Gonzaga.
I like it. Hunk?
I'm actually going Gonzaga over Tennessee.
There it is.
Yeah. I also have
Great
Auburn making the
minds.
Final Four to play Tennessee.
You do?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, just because I
See,
don't believe in
Kansas is my eventual national champion.
I
so
can't wait to hear
couldn't
that
do
show
it.
if that happens. Fun week of shows. Thank you all
Hunk
for
would know
having
what
me.
to do. Actually, Hunk would know what to do.
I would know what to do.
Eagle, baby!
I've been put into a box.
Fun show. We'll do it again next week. 3HL 104.5 The Zone.
Thanks, Will.